Hello, 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 and welcome to this edition of the Law Firm Blueprint. I'm one of your hosts, Jay Ruane, and with me, as always, is my man, Seth Price. I always part the wrong way. Anyway, Seth, how you doing this week? It's been a lovely week here in Connecticut. The Jets drafted well, Giants drafted well, and we are ready to rock and roll. So what's new with you?
Everything's good here. Can't wait to get in it. Lots going on. What's on your mind?
I got bitten by that bug, and we did travel sports for a number of years. I think this is my daughter's final year playing travel sports in volleyball. I think she's just going to focus on the high school team. I think my older son, he gave up travel baseball last year and now actually coaches in the Challenger division, which is the kids with developmental disabilities.
And that's exactly what all my kids have done. And my middle guy is now gone from being a helper to being like the paid coach of those teams.
Yeah, and it's great, and it's giving them so much more joy. That my son was a decent player at 8, 9, 10. By 12, he was not. He wasn't starting, so he was playing the last 3 innings of a blowout one way or the other, and he was just like, I don't really love this anymore. Let's do something else. And he's found something that he's very passionate about. And so, I mean, look, I think a lot of parents invest a lot of money because they want to get that college scholarship, and they think the travel sports are the way to go. That's just what I think. But it was nice sitting out in the sun on the weekend. I'll take that. But I have a couple of issues I want to run by you. I want to get your input on because I'm dealing with it in my office. We have a member of our intake team who is remote in the Philippines, kicking ass, doing great work for us. Wife was working remotely for somebody near you, actually, a dentist's office out of Baltimore. She'd been working remotely there for 5 years. Private equity came in. The owner sold to private equity to a dental group, and they immediately got rid of all of their remote workers. They have a call center that they were going to work out of that was U.S. based. So all the remote people got told, "Thank you very much. Have a nice day." So, we have an ad out to get a couple more remote people, and it's going to be in the legal ops department, not in intake. And my intake VA, remote worker, said, "Hey, my wife is interested in this. Would you interview her?" Have you come across that where you have, family members, even if they're based in the States, family members of people that you employ and who are looking for a job in is that troubling? I mean, look, I'm a family firm. I work for my dad for the longest time. Now he works for me.
Look where that got you.
Right. A lot of stress, a lot of strife, and a bleeding profitability right now. But
I think it's like I still okay.
It depends. Are you going to say it depends?
It depends. So when I'm a baby lawyer, I remember I was excited. I remember I went to the law firm because they offered free juice and soda. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. The fridges were stocked. Before I drank coffee, I probably would have been the guy taking the K-cups. But so I remember some guy sits me down, and I shared a secretary with a very nice lady who turns out was dating one of the partners. And he's like, "What's your take on the nepotism policy for the firm?" I'm like, "As long as there's soda in the fridge and my paycheck clears, you do whatever you want." Right. And he was trying to figure out, what happened. The truth, they've been together now 30 years. I think there are rules that are there for a reason because in general, there's some bad situations. You hire both and one stops working well, and can you fire somebody when, there's lots of reasons not to do it. But I think you need to know it's you're already dancing on the head of a pin, working internationally with a certain amount of trust. Are these guys going to be working from the same house across the way from each other? Is that healthy? But if it makes economic sense, I've taken more chances with that. I think done more good than bad. We hired a group at the firm that was a package deal in a relationship headed towards more. And one spun out not that long ago. And that was kind of weird, but we kept one who's amazing and we love it. So to me, I think it comes down to, there's two questions. One is the immediacy. Like, does this person bring value at a price point you want? Is it a team member? And then second, what are the chances this goes south and you have to deal with it? Right. David Breton came to me years ago. He was already serious with our head of accounts when the firm was rather small. And, they're now engaged, married, and it worked.
Right.
We both know situations where things don't work and there's a problem, whether it's in their marriage or one of them working out, one not. Lots of different scenarios where it can go south. But I feel like you being a man of the people could make it work.
Well, I mean, I think, if I'm going to make this happen, I think number one, it needs to be clearly defined roles with their own KPIs so that you have an
Reporting to
objective
each other, I
criteria.
assume.
What's that?
They would not be reporting to each other.
They would not be reporting to each other. Clearly defined roles independent of each other, because you don't want one person carrying the weight for two and the other person, blowing work off and getting carried, right? You don't want to put yourself in that situation where you're paying twice for the work of one, who's grinding so much that maybe they even get burned out. So I think that's certainly something that you need to worry about.
That I'm less, especially two different roles. Fraught with peril at the same time. It's an opportunity.
Yeah. So I think we're going to give it a shot. I mean, based on your feedback, it sounds like it's worth at least investigating the next level. I have some concerns, that I want to see what they address in the interview about, like, right now they are working sort of opposite hours and, they have kids. In fact, one of the children that they have qualified for the Filipino swim team that's going to be in the Olympics in 2 years in LA, which I think is super cool. And if they come over with their son, I don't know if they're going to be able to make the trip, but if they do make the trip, I'm going to fly to LA and see their son swim and get to meet him in person, because I think
that's awesome. But good luck getting the tickets. We were in the lottery, and by the time we got
in, I got a guy, Seth. I got it. Look, Foo Fighters are playing tomorrow night here in Connecticut. Nobody could get tickets. I call my guy. He's like, I got you. I'm dead center.
The Connecticut Amphitheater, slightly different than the Olympic Bowl, but just to show you face value, what we're dealing with. By the time we got in, and we got in early, we were part of the first tranche, $5,000 closing ceremony tickets. I mean, crazy.
See, that's the thing. Who wants to go to the closing ceremony? I've been to the summer and I've been to
no, understood. But my point is, there wasn't other stuff. We wanted other stuff. It wasn't. It's you'll get in. I get it, but it is. The Olympics frustrating. I went to Atlanta and we owned the joint. We went to everything, had an amazing time.
I met Evander Holyfield in Atlanta. He was giving away tickets to boxing.
It was we could drive everywhere because they closed all the roads and they were empty. It was just really special. But LA is different than Atlanta, and it is. I think that just anybody who can get them is grabbing them and throwing them in the aftermarket. It's just prohibitive.
Sure. Sure.
Like really for the B-level badminton games and the and the weightlifting. I remember I went to weightlifting and we saw the non-medal competition, 11 through 20 or something. Is there really that much pent-up demand for this random stuff? I get the gold medal stuff, the swimming and gymnastics is going to be bucks, but I'm just amazed that all this other stuff is gobbled up for Lord knows what amount.
It's amazing. It was amazing to me. I went to go see handball, and
amazing, so much fun,
passionate fans from around the world, and I'm just wondering to myself, how are we as the United States not dominating handball with some of our professional athletes? You get a guy coming out of D1 college who doesn't make the NFL. NFL draft was last week. My Jets did great according to everybody. Your Giants did well. But we'll see.
The Jets are irrelevant. It's going to take more than a draft pick there. But
well, it's definitely going to take more than a draft. Interesting.
No, European handball. I got my class reading.
I'm going to throw some trivia at you before we get there. I want to see if I can stump
Jets trivia, because then our ratings are just
not Jets trivia. It's NFL trivia. Give me one of two teams that have had the most number one picks in the NFL draft since the draft era began.
I got to go with Jets.
Okay, not the Jets. It's either the Rams or the Colts. Both have 7 number one picks. But can you name two, or can you name one of the 3 teams that have never picked number one? So this is what I was doing with my son as we were driving.
I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
No, Cowboys have picked number one. It's not the Ravens. The Seahawks and the Broncos, they have never picked number one in an NFL draft. So, folks, there's a little trivia you can throw at people.
No, but it's more that they've never sucked that badly.
Right, exactly. That's why,
they may have ups and downs, but they've never fallen.
But they've never
far.
been that bad that they get number one. But yeah, but there's a lot of D1 athletes who didn't get drafted last week, and they can throw the hell out of the ball. And why are they not? And they got good hands.
One of my favorite guys in college I've lost touch with, Jorge. He was on the football team, got injured, fire alarm going off, so we may have to postpone for a second. Long story short, he ended up walking onto the U.S. men's handball team. The issue is, like any sport, it looks easy, but if you played as a kid and all the way up, it's such an advantage over being a great athlete transitioning later.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's but I was just thinking about that. Okay, Seth, so I got another question. This is therapy for Jay here. At what point do you decide that it's time to end a referral relationship? Because because I've had a relationship with a lawyer for a number of years, and I'm just not satisfied with the level of communication or the attention to my clients. I've sent them some clients that I have close relationships with. I see these clients regularly at events and the neighborhood and that type of thing. And I'm trying to get information out of them. I send them emails. I don't get a response timely, or I see, they're taking time off, which I'm not opposed to people getting vacations, but it's like all they ever do is post about how they're flying here or going there. They're on this vacation, on that vacation. And I'm hearing from those clients and seeing, hey, my stuff got continued another 3 months. So client I refer to a lawyer says to me, hey, man, I thought this thing was going to resolve in April, and now I'm saying it's not going to resolve till June. I'm kind of getting frustrated, and I don't have a response because that lawyer, they're doing other things. And I'm just wondering.
Let me go through this. Like you've answered your own question in one sense because you're not getting the service you want. But let's go through the order of operations.
It's more the client's not getting the service they want.
No, but let's start with not in the right order, but are you getting paid? Are the cases monetizing, and do you get checks? Bluntly.
Eventually. I mean, they've got a half dozen of more files over the last 2 years. They haven't all settled yet. They're in the process.
Right. But what you're saying is it sounds like in general, and we've all seen this, there's ones where you get no money, right? That's a problem.
Right. That's a problem.
The second is where the clients aren't happy, and that's probably the preeminent one. If clients are not loving the mojo, to me, it's a hard no. That's like just, again, you're giving me a bunch of background on it. You sort of know why they're not loving the mojo. But if they don't love mojo, they don't love mojo.
Right.
On the next side, you have sort of the in-between, which is communications. And this is the piece that I know is, it looks to me like how, you have an issue where if this is a type of law that it's hard to find somebody who does it, you bend more than others.
Okay.
Versus if this is one where, car wrecks for you, there are more people that will do PI in Connecticut than you know what to deal with. For me, for example, comp in Virginia is very hard to find. I bend more than I would in other areas. That said, bad user experience. I'd rather not refer it out. I don't want clients being upset.
Well, that's part of the issue, because I'm getting negative feedback, and I'm also getting, another neighbor says don't rely on Ruane's word. He sent me to a guy who won't return my phone. Look,
you've gone over a line. Now you're asking a question you already know the answer to, which is that's like we're well beyond. Should I use it or shouldn't I?
Do I try to salvage something? Do I try to bring it up and say, hey, this is what I'm getting? Do I wait till I get that check and say, hey, listen, I want to give you some feedback? Thanks.
A combination of things. One, I think the first thing is you stop sending stuff out, right? That's you don't continue with cases going out when you're in that situation. There are different types of situations. Like you have a bad rep. Like the person in charge of his referral stuff isn't good. I need to deal with somebody else. Like I see on the BluShark side, there are people that they are not mojoing with somebody, or somebody is not up to the task. You don't have the A person. In a small shop though, are you really going to give advice that's going to change bad or untimely
And that's
work?
the thing. Like, I'm sure this person. I mean, I'm not overwhelming people with referrals necessarily because my marketing is dialed in and I'm getting the cases that I want. And we get extra cases that come from prior clients. Hey, who would you call for X? That type of
But
thing.
I'll give you an example. There's some coaching programs out there that tell you that as a lawyer, like they would have given you advice years ago, Jay. Jay is now the business leader. Get out of the courtroom. You can't touch it. And you may have stayed longer than you wanted to, but you were sort of the chief legal officer that kept a certain level, and you only stepped out once you had systems and processes where you were not missed. Whereas there are people that are starting out that never practice, right? I mean, or very quickly get out. God bless. It probably makes more money over time. I did it. I kept one guy in. I split my profits with somebody, and they were. But to me, if you're in a situation, whether it's personal life because they're vacationing all the time, which I've seen some cases, or they just fancy themselves as not too good for it, but they're going to let other people do it, then you're at the whim of those people. And
You may not
to me,
necessarily be
that
trained to
right.
communicate.
So just like I've never really gone down the non-attorney closer concept, the dragon from some of these groups, that to me, the more that the person is detached from a firm for whatever reason, like it's good for selling and turning it up. But as a referral person, you don't go by that. You're going by who's going to deliver. Like for you, you can get the same referral fee from a bunch of people. So the first question is: are the clients taken care of? First, do they take the case in? Right, you're handing it to them, so hopefully they do. They're not. In some cases, you're just saying you sign it up. Are they signing up the cases? Are they doing great work and communicating? And are you getting a check? And in this case, you never get to the check because if they're not taking care of your clients, they're
Cases are
more
getting
opportunity.
kicked down the road.
And just you go somebody else. You have plenty of different options.
It's interesting because the flip side to this is friend of the show, Chris Early. Was I happened to run into him in New York at the last Fisher Mastermind. Came across the room. I show up, came across the room. Hey, Jay, I was hoping to see you here. I saw your name was on the list. You've got 3 cases that are going to close in the next 90 days that you've referred to us. This one, and this one. We're really happy with the results. We think they're right at the right number. So we're just wrapping things up. But I wanted to tell you in person that I'm going to be sending you some checks. And I was happy to have that conversation. I was like, whoa, this is fantastic. That type of thing.
No,
Very
look, I'm guilty of that. That is good business. That's what
Yeah,
you want. I mean, because like all the talk about coffees and this and that conversation is more likely to get another referral from you than anything else. Just taking
absolutely.
care of people. And look, funny. I got a call just before the show from an old friend referral source who came out of nowhere. I think it may have been a former BluShark client. Maybe it was somebody who was, I remember was doing all sorts of creative outside the box stuff. Lost touch, starts referring me cases, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to get a license here, and now I'm going to have another opportunity to send you cases." So I think to a certain extent, it's just being a decent human being and staying in touch. But look, we see so many people that are trying to outsource is the wrong word, but like detach from their operations. And the question is, have they really created an operation that allows for that, or do they just detach?
Well, it's interesting. There's a lot of lawyers who I see who want to, be the CEO, be the owner. And I'm wondering, but for the fact that you have law school debt, or maybe you've retired and that you've self-identified as an attorney, wouldn't it have been so much easier to buy a franchise from some Fortune 500 company that gives you all the playbook? Like, it's tough to do this and scale this as a law firm owner. There really aren't. I mean, now there are much more resources. 10, 15 years ago, there weren't. But it just seems like, why did you want to get into law as a business
Well,
if,
it was
if you didn't
protected.
want to
You,
be?
you got your degree. It's a protected universe,
Sure.
and it was. The MSO is changing everything. And like it's funny. I was just having this conversation. Somebody was talking about franchises. In general, if you buy a franchise, you're buying a job. You know,
Oh,
you go to a
absolutely.
franchise
Yeah,
show,
you're the
and
manager.
it's almost like a timeshare. Like it's not generally a good economic one unit investment. Now, if you buy 10, then all of a sudden you buy a regional manager and it's a business. But you know,
Right.
if you buy a single franchise of anything, so I think that's part of it, which is the only way to really make money with it is to scale it. And so, hey, why have you scaled? It's like I didn't want to be the guy making the Subway sandwich. I want to be the guy who was sort of like trying to put together 10, 20, 30 shops so that we can
Yeah.
have some economies of scale, provide opportunity for people. But that's the back and forth. Okay, I'm going to pivot for a minute. I know some of the people watching the show are smaller firms. So when you do an office party, it's you and a handful of people. You sort of see what's going on. But as you scale, alcohol at parties. If I go back 20 years of the firm, we've lost at least 4 or 5 people thanks to alcohol at firm sponsored events. We've generally tried to go back to wine, beer, and sangria just to sort of limit our damage. At our last kickoff summer party, we had an open bar. It was wine and beer and sangria. It was open. It was open bar at a very, very nice venue where they did the classic bar thing where $4,000 was added to our bar bill, and it's very hard to argue it. I did, but like,
Right.
you know, it was a semi-private space where one of the bars that we had access to had us and paying clients, and
Oh,
Lord knows what game was being played, right? And so we actually pushed somebody out over this. It was more than that, but like a person who just didn't take attention to detail on that. And in one sense, drink tickets have always not been something I've loved.
yeah,
But we're
because
like,
it
look,
feels awkward.
if we're about to go to a hip spot, my marketing director, her has personal connections at a very hot happy hour spot. But we're going into the thick of it, and I don't want to be like fool me once. So for a couple of reasons, we're going to drink tickets. Take a shot, right?
Yeah.
You're going to the hot bar. We're not doing this at my house, which we love doing, but the staff doesn't love flipping suburbs. We're going to go to a hot spot, but we're going to offer drink tickets. My question to you is, first, thoughts on that, and second, you've been to a lot of events over the years. What is your thought on the over under of right number of drink tickets for like a 2.5 hour happy hour?
I think one per hour is what you give them. That way, you know that they're staying within the realm of absorption and elimination of alcohol. You want to give them, but I don't think you give them a half a dozen. You know, for a
No,
two.
no. And,
You know,
and really the answer
I
is two
think it's
versus
one per
three.
hour.
Right. So my answer was 2 because I've never been to an event where if you and 3 tickets, you might as well do open bar for starters, right? You're almost at that. And secondly, to me, if the head of ops walks around and can be a big shot and hand somebody an extra drink ticket where they know they're not driving, they see that they're in good shape. God bless, right? Here you could be special, but I'm sitting here and it sucks because look, I also know there's a certain number of people who don't drink and are just going to hand over drink tickets,
Right.
right? So, and
Well,
it's
one of the things that we
when
did last time we did that is we made sure that they had a special mocktail, and we
we're
served it.
doing mocktails, which are in today's world are no less expensive than
Yeah.
but we're doing mocktails. But the idea is, we made our peace because every time we've done hard alcohol, we've had issues. And again, just crazy. We lost our during COVID. It was awful. We talked about it on the show years ago, early shows. I lost the guy running our operations at that point. He insisted on hard alcohol. He said people need it. I'm like, it's fine. He got drunk on the booze cruise and then sexually harassed
Yeah.
our college intern, who's a dear friend of ours, daughter from law school. I mean, blows your mind.
Yeah.
We were like rudderless for a while because this a-hole the guy organizing the party who insisted on hard alcohol couldn't hold his alcohol. So I'm torn. You want to be like in smaller groups. That's one thing. There's something about the larger group dynamic
Right.
that and look, I know they're going to go out for an after party afterwards. And so the question is, part of me is like, if God forbid somebody drove to an event and you are on record, not just saying open bar, but I gave them 3 drinks. That's not nothing.
No, you're right. You're right. And I'm sure some PI lawyer out there would, make a big deal about that. try to pull you into a liability lawsuit there, for
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, you,
So
you give somebody two
maybe
drinks. You,
I'm trying to think now. Have I ever been given more than two? I don't think I have. At any
yeah,
event with tickets, it's always two.
it's always two. And look,
Yeah.
I've also been at tickets where the organizer says, if you need one more, let me know.
Right.
Like it controls cost. Like I want to be benevolent, but I've never seen a situation. The idea that you're handing somebody three is just because think about it, in this world, again, very often people get them because they don't finish a drink. But if for the average person who's not Jay Ruane, if they have three drinks, they're impaired.
Shit, if I had three drinks right now, I'd be on the floor. I don't think I've
Right.
had three drinks since January 1. If you put them all together,
It is
just not my
interesting.
world
I hear
anymore.
the bars are very nervous that the Gen Z is really drinking a lot less. It's
Oh,
not
well,
me.
I can tell you straight up. I mean, Seth, when I started 25 years ago doing DUI defense, there was 18,000 DUI cases a year in the state of Connecticut. Last year, they didn't hit 6,000. It was 5995 total.
How much of that is
And
policing? How much of that's
I don't
policing
think
versus how much of
I
that?
don't think it's policing. I think people just aren't going out. I mean, they just are not going out like they used to. I mean, look, the truth of the matter is I have a 16-year-old daughter, right? I'm not talking about drinking. When I was 16, I was out every Friday and Saturday night. I was going to like underage juice bar nightclubs. I mean, whether or not somebody snuck in a bottle to spike your drink is another thing. But I was going to clubs. I was going out. I was doing stuff. Friday night, my daughter and her friends, they all stay home
And
and
you were not partaking of the juice at the juice bar, is my guess.
no, I actually one of them I was working at. I was making some cash, but
Yeah,
my daughter and her friends, they all stay home and text each other and watch watch parties on Netflix. Whereas I was going out with
right.
people from all
But you
over.
also know where she is. Like we know where
Right?
our
My
kids are
parents had
now.
no idea where I was. It's a different generation socially.
But as we wrap up here, question: you follow this guy Ian with the Locked Up podcast out of Connecticut?
Ian Bick,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he
interesting
used to,
guy. I love to.
I used to hang out at Tuxedo Junction when he owned it.
That's what I know. Did you ever go to any? Well, I guess you probably didn't overlap age wise, but
No. But I used to before he bought it. I used to go to the club that he owned, and then it started to skew a lot younger because he was renting it out and throwing parties for high schoolers. And
I
late.
got to tell you, he has created really compelling content
Yeah,
on podcast and social. I'd love to get him on the podcast if we
sure.
could. He just seems like the way that he has hit use the medium is just
Yeah,
brilliant. And his storytelling of himself is brilliant, but the
yeah,
way he interviews and extracts on a topic that we don't talk about ever. That's why it's also like,
yeah.
not only is he great at it, I think, but the fact that he's able to uncover a world that for most people, I've been in the criminal defense space for 20 years since we started this firm with Dave. And the idea that there's this, okay, what happens to people once they're locked up?
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
it's great. It's great content. It's really, really
but,
great stuff.
and I remember going back to crim procedure. There was a professor, very learned professor, started like, why do we lock people up? We talked about why do we arrest? Why are we doing this? And you're thinking about like, why is there bail? Like what, each of these steps. And like, is the arrest punishment? Well, not really. The arrest is just to determine, it's like, and you start to think about it intellectually. Well, okay, jail. Why are they in jail? What is the purpose of it? And when you start to realize the machine that's been created underneath it is just wild, disturbing. Like there's an entire ecosystem that has taken on a life of its own that we just
Sure.
don't on a daily day think that, I always think about it in the negative sense when you think about the number of people locked up that didn't do what they've been accused of. But when you just think about the people that have done with like this whole economy that is sitting there, it is staggering when you start to think about what is out there that we just don't think about on a day-to-day basis.
Well, we don't have time for it today, but I got two stories about the criminal justice system and the economy that has sprung from it. We'll talk about it next week. I'll ping you after this so I can tell you about the fun stuff that I've learned in my years doing this. So that'll be a good teaser for our next show, folks. Folks, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for being with us. If you want to take us on the go, you can take us anywhere you want to go by subscribing to the Law Firm Blueprint Podcast. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating when you do that. Of course, you can catch us live on LinkedIn, live in our Facebook group, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, every Thursday afternoon. I am Jay Ruane. He is Seth Price. We are the law firm Blueprint. Thanks for being with us today. Bye for now.